A UN committee has found that Israel's practices and policies in Gaza are consistent with the characteristics of genocide. The UN Special Committee to investigate Israeli practices said on Thursday that Israel was using starvation as a weapon of war. Half of Gaza's 2.2 million population are facing imminent famine amid shortages of food and medicine. Israel rejects allegations that it's collectively punishing Palestinians and says its military raids aim to eliminate Hamas. The report comes 2 days after the end of a US-imposed deadline for Israel to allow more aid to civilians in Gaza. The deadline passed without any US action taken against Israel. Louise Wateridge is a senior emergency officer for the Palestinian refugee agency UNRWA. She's based in a Gaza field office in Nuseirat. She told me about the humanitarian situation on the ground there. Can you tell us, from what you've seen there, what is the situation like now compared to early October when the US put Israel on notice to improve humanitarian conditions?
It's been very consistent throughout the last 13 months of this war, and that is every day and every week the situation is getting worse. Not only do we have winter around the corner, we have seen the least amount of aid enter the Gaza Strip in the month of October this year. And the situation on the ground is just getting unbearable. You speak to people here every day. People in the situation now that they're fighting over bags of flour, they're surviving on tinned cans of food, any kind of humanitarian supplies that we're able to get in. It's just hopeless and desperate all at the same time. And it's really frustrating for the humanitarians on the ground because, you know, we're here and everybody working here is risking their lives. They're trying to do as much as they possibly can for the community. And the frustration that we have is not having enough supplies and never having enough supplies over the last 13 months of this war.
So when the US State Department says that although Israel has not made a significant enough difference, it is happy that it's seeing some of the steps that would allow conditions to improve. Are you seeing those steps? Are you seeing any progress?
Not at all. Not at all. We categorically reject this. There's not a humanitarian here in Gaza that would be able to tell you any differently. It's not improving. Nothing is improving. And if anything, it's getting worse. 37 trucks, an average a day, entered the Gaza Strip during October. That is for 2.2 million people who've had absolutely everything taken from them for the last 13 months. This is shelter. This is their homes, any food, any access to water. The needs here are so basic. And the fact that people would even be denied such needs is an absolute outrage. But to continue maintaining this for 13 months, it's led to absolutely catastrophic conditions here.
And when Israel says that it is allowing more trucks in, talk to us about the difficulties between getting something literally over the border from Israel to Gaza and then getting it to the people who are in need, particularly those in the north of the country at the moment.
Getting aid to the border is one part of it, but we also need the safe facilitation of the aid to the people in need. I myself and many of my colleagues have been on convoys delivering supplies that have come under fire directly. We've had food trucks hit by the Navy. I've been in a convoy that has been shot at. There is no safety for anyone. And how can humanitarians possibly do their jobs when we're not guaranteed safety? Since September, there has been over 100% increase in our mission denials. That means we cannot move. If we don't have approvals, we cannot go anywhere. It's as simple as that. So over 100% increase in mission denials since September. That is not an improvement. What can we say? We need international journalists. This is one of our biggest asks. 10%, it's reported 10% of journalists here have been killed during this war. There has been no international journalists permitted into the Gaza Strip. It's great that a position of this war is being able to have this narrative and say this against the United Nations and say this against humanitarians on the ground. But the same position, they're also denying the access of journalism.
I would just say there, Louise, that the BBC has made representations to Israel to be granted access for some of our team into Gaza, and they have been denied thus far, just on that point. And when you're talking about how you yourself have been in convoys that have been shot at, Is that fire coming from the IDF, or is some of that from Hamas? I mean, Israel is talking about Hamas stopping convoys and raiding and looting them. Have you seen any evidence of that?
My colleague's been in a convoy that was under direct fire of the Israeli Navy that shot the food truck that they were taking to people desperate for food. I have been in a convoy that was shot at in an Israeli controlled area at their checkpoint. We are seeing looting, yes, but this is a direct result of there being no police, of there being desperation. If you take everything away from a society, I'm talking hospitals, schools, medical facilities, restaurants, cafes, homes, absolutely everything in a society here has been destroyed. Limited food, limited water, limited access to medical treatment. This is what the population are dealing with. Of course, there's going to be a complete breakdown of society. So now we are trying to also operate in lawless conditions, and safe passage is not being facilitated. And that is the responsibility of the occupying power, and that is Israeli forces. And
the number of casualties in Sudan's civil war